So the ruling is guilty or not guilty. They admitted to it.
Yeah, they're guilty.
They admitted to it. So where you're saying that they were trying to blag it and say that they weren't guilty, Everton have accepted that they were in the wrong. What they're now disputing is the severity of the punishment versus the crime. And I can understand, like, for a lot of people, it's confusing because if you look at even the Athletic, right? I've got the article right in front of me for the Athletic. And the headline there is record £355 million losses at Everton. That's not factually incorrect, is it? £355 million is a lot of money to lose, and Everton have lost £355 million, which is a Premier League record. But the punishment is not about that £355 million loss. It's £124.5 million versus 105. So if you looked at that 355 headline number, you'd say that they've broken FFP by a total of £250 million. It's not. The actual crime or breach is only £19.5 million over a 3-year period.
Yeah, that's a lot to... there's reasons why it's not all of it. Yeah. Primarily, obviously, the building of the new stadium. So there's certain things where you can have expenditure and it doesn't come off your PSR. Investment in infrastructure, stadiums, women's team, youth football, I mean, charity work. There's a couple of others maybe as well. Don't go onto this PSR report. So Everton have obviously already invested heavily in terms of the build of Bramley Moor Dock, which is going up. Looks like it's going to be a great stadium. It's going to be used at the Euros. But it's interesting to go back to that 124.5 million number that you said. Once you kind of get around all the noise, the reality here is that Everton are 19.5 million out of sync. Yeah. That's really what they are out of sync here. 19.5 million.
The other thing is COVID during that period, losses and stuff like that. They over-exaggerated, didn't they?
We did a comparison a really long time ago on Everton and Aston Villa's, the amount the two clubs were claiming they lost over COVID, and it was, I can't remember what the numbers were, but it was laughable, what Everton was saying.
Extremely high compared to the others. So, yes, that 19.5 million is, again, I would call it a paper loss. Creative accounting.
It's one Cenk Tosun.
Yeah, once you've moved the player from once you've moved the debt from this side to that side, or you've sold a player, or you've amortized slightly differently, or whatever, they could easily that 19.5 could be 30. It could be. I doubt it's going to be less, but it could be a little bit more. I think it's creative accounting. But £19.5 million breach for 10 points deducted.
Fair.
Well, I've seen conversations where people have said, well, they would have been better off going into administration because that's a 9-point deduction, and they could have cleared a bunch of debt. And let's be honest, if you go into administration, you're going to shaft a few people as well because you're not going to repay all of that debt. So they've done the right thing in the sense of not going into administration. But if administration is 9 points, then I don't see how 10 points is fair, because administration is a worse thing to happen than breach FFP. Because in this situation, at least the club/owner are going to have to find a way to finance the debt and the deficit. Whereas going into administration saying, I'm not going to pay my debts, or I'm only going to pay part of my debts. So why would you get less of a fine?
Yeah, but it wouldn't have been
punishment.
I mean, in administration, 1 point better off, or out of it, 1 point worse off. I mean, from that, it doesn't necessarily add up. I mean, part of the problem here is, and one of the reasons for Everton's annoyance on the actual punishment, is a couple of things. One is, and we will mention City and Chelsea briefly, but we don't want to be here for 10 hours. Everton, it could be argued, have gained no sporting advantage from what they've done. They've massively overspent. Even Evertonians have every right to be upset at the punishment.
Hey, they might have got relegated had they not had Alex Iwobi as part of their team.
Yeah, okay. So
they might have got relegated had Neil Namope not popped up in their team last year.
When they appointed Rafa Benitez, which was 2 summers ago.
Yeah.
And Everton budgeted to finish 6th, which when you think about it, is a little bit laughable. That's what they were budgeting for. They was aiming high, right? It was, and this was already a period where the spending was already calming down.
But that,
they knew
are you saying they didn't gain any sporting advantage?
Well, based on what they were targeting, no. The money they've spent has not put them in a better position.
No, but that's not down to the money being spent. That's down to the money being spent poorly. If Man City now fell off a cliff and finished 9th or 10th or 11th in the table, are you going to disregard their financial fidelity because City they didn't perform as well as they should have?
City arguably have gained clear advantage, right? They've already won shit. Yeah, Everton haven't done anything over this period.
They've tried.
They tried.
The intent was there for them to gain a sporting advantage, i.e. perform higher in the table. If they were too bad to be able to do it, that's their fault.